Seth, you say that you've worked in like alternative radio and stuff like that. Kind of give us a little recap of your career. I know that the Bubba Army is probably extremely familiar with it. I'm not as familiar with everything. So I love that I'm learning that you love. Seems like we like the same kind of music, brother. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I started interning at 97X, which was the alternative station in Tampa when I was 19. So I did that for a year on the morning show. Did all the stupid little bits. Got the breakfast and all that stuff. And then they ended up wanting to hire me, so I got hired after my internship for like it was $7.50 an hour. For 10,
money.
20, yeah, 10, 20. So this was like, God, man, fucking 2001. So I was like
That was
750.
huge.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Shit, yeah, man.
Doing what you
Rolling.
love. Yes.
Yeah. So that ended up happening. So I did that. I ended up, I always thought the end goal was to like be an on-air DJ. So, I put together like an air check of just me in the production room doing shit. And I gave it to my boss, and he was like, wow. He's like, most people just tell me they want to be on the radio. He's like, you are actually like coming with, work and all this stuff showing that you want to do it. So I remember my first shift was like Thanksgiving. So, I did that for a couple years. Did the morning show on 97X for like 10 years. Eventually they fired everybody, just cause alternative wasn't making much money. So then in the same company, I got transferred over to Hot 115, which was a top 40 station. And I was doing, mornings with this, woman named Jade. I'll just skip anything to say about her, cause I don't want to go on a tangent at all. But,
Moving right along.
Enough said.
It'll be in the book. It'll be in Seth's book.
That's right.
I wanted to be on top 40 radio because I was on alternative and it was so niche. Like we were never going to be number one on alternative. We had a small signal. So I was ready to go, hey, top 40, I'm ready for the big time.
Yeah.
That ended up sucking my soul. I mean, the some of the fake bits that you do, fake letters from fake people and, fake callers doing the War of the Roses and the blown off and the shit like that. I mean, it just wasn't my thing. Like I wrote a lot of those, like some of them were funny, but it wasn't for me at all. So, Drew Garabo, who I'm sure you guys have heard the name, I ended up working with him on 97X for about 2 years, doing the morning show. And then he was doing, we opened up a talk show in our building, our 1025 The Bone. And then Drew was doing afternoons. And he ended up getting them to let me go over there and work with him. And I was his executive producer for almost 5 years. And then 2019, I had been there, since 2001, I don't know, 18, 19 years. And I was like, each radio station I went to in the building, they kept like taking more money from me because I was like, hey, you want a job? Hey, you want to go over here? It's just like, yeah. So, I was kind of just doing it for like, actually like, it was paying the bills. I had great benefits and stuff, but I mean, it wasn't like where I wanted to be. Like I just felt
passion.
like I wasn't,
You wasn't feeding that creativity and that's inside of you.
Yeah, like I wasn't learning. It was just easy for me, to kind of show up and do that. I wanted more. I wanted to eventually, run podcasting where I have, a bunch of different shows and stuff like that. Like almost where I'm kind of at right now. So I left in 2019. My wife told me it was cool. Didn't have any other job. Had nothing. Had no options. So I left. Had a couple of things. Bubba reached out to me like the second that I left. I was talking to him and I didn't want to go into radio at all, and ended up I quit in September, and then it was about late December, and I was living off my 401k. And I was like, I probably got to go get back to work. So, I took the job with Bubba, and I did that for about a year. And I didn't want to be there, like I said, because I don't want to be in radio. So, and then that on top of Blitz was fucking horrible to work with. And he was essentially my boss. I mean, the guy was a fucking prick, long before any of this other shit came out.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I mean, honestly, like I've had a long career, he's the worst person that I've ever fucking worked with in my life, as far as being an asshole, and as far as the talent level was just bottom of the barrel. So
Damn.
So I ended up leaving Bubba after a year. I ended up working for one of his big listeners, Larry Buer, and I was doing mental health podcast and also doing social media for this company, working from home, which was like fucking great. I'll tell you, I ended up having a lot of time on my hands, which like was cool, I guess, if you want to nap and get high and all this shit. But
too much time on your hands, maybe.
Yeah, like.
But once again, not challenged, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like he ended up letting me go, and I was like, it kind of sucked for a little while. I ended up getting a job as the manager of marketing, which is the marketing place directly next door to Bubba's studio. So I did that for a year, and then a radio station called K Rock in LA. Reached out to me, and it was somebody that I had been talking to throughout the years, and they wanted me to be their producer for their alternative station out there, which would be the only way I got back into radio is if I went to work for K Rock. So anyways, I accepted the job. I accepted $80,000 to go live in LA. I have a fucking kid. Do the math. That's essentially nothing.
Right,
$80,000.
Not out
so
there.
I was like, I went out there for a week. I worked with the show. Like they were horrible. Like they kind of treated me like I'm an intern, and I'm much more, I was going to be their executive producer, and I just didn't get a good vibe from them. So I came home and I quit that job. And after a few other things, like I just ended back up with Bubba. I think in January, I was working at another radio station here in town, a sports station. And, that was like 20 hours a week. It was just, I had like 3 jobs and I was just getting tired of it. So, Bubba gave me a chance to come over and, to help with podcasting. And the original plan was for me to be on the air like, 1 or 2 days a week. And, that quickly turned into 5.
Yeah, that didn't last
That
long.
changed rapidly. I remember the actual morning show when he mentioned it to the audience first. And then it's funny to sit there and watch Anna the whole time. Like, dude, she was just... like she was melting into her chair. I know she was already aware, but just him talking about it and you coming on the show, I was like, damn. But then I was thinking, what? Bubba knows what he's doing. He's trying to shake some things up. Had no idea the whole backstory. The reason you looked like the bad guy the first time was because of the true bad guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's a pretty amazing job that he did. So, no, dude, it's been cool to watch this happen and develop. It was a little weird at first and strange. I was like, man, what is going on? Not with you, but just during that time frame. And then when it all came to light, it was like, oh shit, this all makes sense now,
Yeah,
Seth wasn't a bad guy.
I'm sure as hell glad you're there, brother.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
that. I think we all are.
Yes, we are.